The second thing I want to say about Fear and Trembling deals with the title, Fear and Trembling, a Dialectical Lyric. Now, Fear and Trembling is obviously a reference to the Bible, and we find the expression fear and trembling in several places in Scripture. I think there are two places that are most notable for our purposes and for the themes of Kierkegaard's book. The first is in the letter to the Philippians, where Paul tells the Philippians to work out your salvation in fear and trembling, for God is at work in you, both to will and to work for his good pleasure. So we have the idea that Christians and believers should approach God and approach the question of their salvation in fear and trembling before the Lord, and that they should remember that God is working through them and through their lives for God's own purposes. This is going to be an important theme for Kierkegaard's treatment of the Abraham story. The second place this occurs that I think is important to keep in mind is in the 5th chapter of St. Mark's Gospel, where the woman with a hemorrhage touches the Lord's cloak as he walks by. And then she's called out of the crowd. He says, "Who touched me?" And then the Gospel says, "But the woman, knowing what had been done to her, came in fear and trembling and fell down before him and told him the whole truth. And he said to her, 'Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed of your disease.'" So we have in this expression of fear and trembling the attitude of the woman who has now been called to account before the Lord for being healed, who is standing, as it were, before the crowd, before the people, fearing punishment, but having nothing but her faith to stand upon. And her faith is rewarded, and she's told that it's her faith that has healed her. Something else that's important here, the value of faith and the complete nakedness or exposure of the self, having only faith to rely upon. The second half of the title, the subtitle, A Dialectical Lyric, is a paradox, because it's professing to be both dialectical, that is philosophical in this very advanced and systematic Hegelian way, and also lyrical, also composed of a kind of artistry or poetic sensibility. To the extent we see this as a paradox or an impossibility, we're capturing another theme of the book that Kierkegaard is going to give us. There is something paradoxical, impossible, or absurd about this, and Kierkegaard has given us that even in his title. This is going to be a work that is both philosophical and artistic, that is both lyrically and aesthetically satisfying as a narrative, and also involves philosophical depth. Kierkegaard is not going to try to separate those two. He's going to keep them combined.